Welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. One of our hoops insiders on the Big Ten Network. An analyst over there. He's been on the show a bunch of times. I love this guy, Tim Doyle. Tim, thanks for coming back on, man.
Artie, you got it, buddy. How's everything going?
Good. So, dude, let's get right to this. You're in Chicago right now. What's the Derrick Rose situation? That's like the saddest news I've ever heard. Like, what's the talk on the street?
You know, here in Chicago, it's kind of like you go into every season, whether it's football or baseball, and you always expect bad news. I mean, it's a city of, like, bad luck, it seems like. And, you know, Derrick Rose, when he tweaked his knee, everyone suspected it was an ACL, but it was only a meniscus. And, you know, some guys have gone on and played on that. And for Derrick Rose, obviously, another step. He's taken a precautionary reason. He's going to get the surgery. He's out for another year. And, you know, you have those type of knee injuries. There's only one guy I've known basketball-wise to come back from knee injuries like that. And he was never the same, but he was still pretty good with Bernard King. You remember him?
Oh, sure. Well, listen, I was a Knick fan when he was in his prime, and he was a scoring machine. But yeah, bad knees. Yeah.
Well, this is like a non-injury. It's
right.
A meniscus. We can't even call this a knee injury. This is like a week-long scope it out and get back on the court type thing.
I wonder if there's more to it, you know?
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's like...
You're right. I don't know the full story, but that's my initial response was, my gosh, this guy, you got to be kidding me. He's going to be out the whole season for this. There might be more that we don't know.
You know, because he came back this year, and he was averaging like 14 points. He was shooting like 30-something%. He had as many assists as he did turnovers, and you know, maybe his other knee was bothering him, and this is just the reason to be like, hey, why don't we just shut you down and see if we can get you back to full strength? But, you know, I think now how much money these guys make, and the money in the NBA is obviously guaranteed.
Yeah.
You know, Bernard King, he, like, needed that paycheck. Like, it wasn't like he was making, like, $10 million. I mean, Derrick Rose made $90 million. Like, he doesn't really have to come back and play if he doesn't want to.
You're right.
Money, you know, so... I don't know. You know, to be a Bulls fan, it's a really curious time, and it's going to be interesting to see if they make a move, because the Eastern Conference is the worst basketball conference I've ever seen in the history of NBA basketball.
Terrible. But you make an excellent point. This guy's 25 years old, and he could end his career, even end it in shame, just move to a different city. He's worth about $90 million. That is crazy. That is crazy.
You know, so what motivates him to really come back and get that knee into full health? Back in the day, these guys actually had to play because that's how they paid the bills. But now the money is just so overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
What about the Pacers? You think they can beat the Heat? Now, obviously they can. Do you think they will, or is it just a toss-up at this point?
You know, last year we had the same conversation, right? The Eastern Conference Finals, and I said, you know, the Heat, LeBron's a little bit too much, and then they ended up winning that series in 7. But I think the Heat may have the the Pacers may have the second best player in the NBA. And most common fans don't even know Paul George is awesome. He does so many different things, and I think the Pacers are really deep. They have a good front line with David West and Hibbert down low. I think that is the biggest two-horse race. If you're an Eastern Conference fan, I mean, the Knicks and Brooklyn, I mean, let's just talk about disasters. I mean, it's just a nightmare. I mean, the East is just so horrible. It's a two-horse race going forward.
Yeah.
Right. You're a Big Ten Network guy, football too. And I want to ask you about the college landscape a little bit, Tim. Starting in the Big Ten, Ohio State, Michigan this weekend. Michigan looks horrendous after I thought they looked like a promising team the beginning of the season. Do they have any chance whatsoever against Ohio State this weekend?
You know, I don't think they have a chance, John. I agree. I was one of those guys that was kind of drinking the Michigan Kool-Aid. I thought Devin Gartner.
Yes.
You know, I thought he was like a better fit than Denard Robinson.
Yes.
Offense that Brady Hoke wanted to run. And I got to be honest, I was wrong, like really wrong. They're very, 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 very average. I think the Big Ten, you know, it's crazy to think that Ohio State could go 2 years in a row undefeated.
Right.
And not play for a national championship. I like Ohio State in that game. I wouldn't mind seeing that it's more, you know, it's going to be Ohio State, Michigan State. It's a pretty good matchup. You know, Michigan State is only one score away from beating Notre Dame, and then they're beating the national title hunt. I think those two teams, Wisconsin's had some good games. I don't know. The Big Ten isn't what the Pac-12 and the SEC are as far as on the college football power.
So Michigan State, Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. Let's say Ohio State wins that one. They go undefeated. They're not invited to the national championship game. They go to the Rose Bowl and play Stanford, let's say. Are they the team that they would be if they wanted to be there? I mean, do they? I'm just wondering if they feel so dissed by not being invited to the national championship, if it ends up being a non-bowl situation for them, where they don't show up for the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, that's a good point. I know the Rose Bowl is, a very special bowl, and I know, it's hard to be like, I'm not really going to get up for the Rose Bowl for not the national championship, but it's still one of the creme de la creme bowls. But you make a good point, and especially the layover. You got only almost a month or a month and a half to think about, like, man, we go undefeated. We're not even getting a sniff at the national title. But now all of a sudden Alabama's schedule has gotten really interesting because even though they're a heavy favorite over Auburn, it's a rivalry game, and somehow the Tigers have really just completely 180 their season from last year.
Mm-hmm.
They can win that game, Alabama. They're going to have to take on a Missouri team that's obviously proven it's for real in the SEC title game. So,
well, now that's if Missouri beats A&M this weekend, right?
Yeah, and they're going to be heavily favorite in that game.
Yeah.
Well,
A&M, I feel like they've always got a shot, right?
Agreed. It's just that Manziel's defense is just really, really average. And I think if A&M ends up losing that game, and John, you probably know better than me, if A&M loses that game, I would say with 3 losses, I think Manziel winning the Heisman would really be a long shot.
Yeah, agreed, without a doubt.
What about the Heisman situation?
Yeah, with Jameis Winston, are people going to vote for him?
Yes, unless it really gets really dirty and really ugly for him over these allegations. And I'm not Perry Mason, so I don't really know the evidence or what's going on. But
right.
It seems, in Tallahassee, it's Florida State football, and there's not much else going on. So it seems like it was an odd time for this to come out. And the kid's done everything as far as on the field, and he's actually been a pretty good kid off the field. Very, very humble.
Yeah.
His numbers speak for himself, but I think he's the clear-cut favorite. Unless he really goes down in like a Bon Jovi blaze of glory, I think he's going to end up winning the Heisman.
Well, we know you're not Perry Mason, but it's basketball. We're asking you to be Anthony Mason on this one.
Well, I almost thought about getting. Can a white guy get things carved into their head like the zigzag stuff?
Yeah, Brian Bosworth did.
The bros physically carved? It was
Not
just
into the
shaved.
skin.
Shaved into his head. Yeah. That's an excellent point. I don't know. They're not gonna, I don't think they're going to pull it off, quite frankly.
like me with my side part, like I look like I'm an awful part. I just feel like a TV in my head. I don't think that's going to work.
Hey, what about the NBA West? The Clippers, Lakers, the Kobe signing. Lakers I don't think are much. I mean, you look at Portland, are they the real deal? I mean, what's going on there? That's kind of the direct opposite of the East, where there's a lot of good people.
Yeah, you make a good point. The West is, well, first of all, the Spurs are 14-1, and let's be honest, they gave away the NBA Finals last year. Ray Allen makes an impossible career out there, defending NBA champion. So I think they're going to be the first or second. That's just the lock. And then as far as 2 through 6, you got Houston with Dwight Howard. It's going to be very good. Obviously, Oklahoma City with Durant and Westbrook. The Blazers are playing unbelievable. Marcus Aldridge and Lillard are both averaging over 20 points a game. There's a lot of parity in the West. I think the Lakers, when Kobe comes back, I think it's a successful season. If they make the playoffs, maybe win one playoff series. But as far as them winning the championship, I don't know. And Kobe inked a 2-year deal for around $48 million yesterday. I just don't know, Artie. Kobe loves himself. He's got that A-Rod in him. I'm not sure if Kobe's going to want to sign another big-time guy and maybe say, all right, you want to know something? I'm going to be the number 2 guy. I'm going to be the big guy on this team. Mm-hmm. That's just not his personality.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, and the catch-22 is he may have to do that to win,
Going to the college hoops, you got two Big Ten schools with huge games coming up. Michigan State against North Carolina. I mean, that North Carolina in name sounds a little better than the team looks this season. But that game for the number one team in the nation, Michigan State, I mean, it's tougher than 1 versus 16 should be, right?
Yeah, Michigan State has something that's rare in college basketball. They actually have experience. They have guys that were on the team last year, and they've been through the wars before. North Carolina, they knocked off Louisville last weekend. They have they have two of their best players suspended. They're going to come back soon, not to that next game, but they're a team that, John, you know this, teams change. You're not the same team you are in November as you are in February. You can change for the worse, or you can change for the better. There's a lot of inner things, a lot of drama, a lot of ups and downs that go on in the teams. I think Michigan State's experience, the fact they've been there before, I think they're a team you can almost pencil in March, go into the Final Four. They may lose a game over the course of 38 games in the regular season, but I like their experience, and they're definitely one of the favorites.
Wow. What about the Duke, number 7 Duke, number 22 Michigan?
I was wrong about Duke. I actually thought Duke was pretty good. Duke's in trouble. Duke has a great player in Jabari Parker. He reminds me so much of like a young Carmelo Anthony. He's just extremely talented. He's 6'9", 240 pounds. He's shooting over 60% from three. Problem is, he's actually their center, and they don't guard very well. They always lost to like 5 geeks from Vermont. Vermont took them down to the wire there. It was like, they weren't even, it was remarkable. They were going around them. They don't guard very well. I think they'll be, they'll win 28, 30 games this year. But as far as cutting down the nets, and that's what Duke expects to do every year, I think they're a long shot to win it all.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got a lot. He's got a lot in common with Carmelo Anthony. One of them being, neither one of them is going to be on the NBA championship team this year. Unfortunately, the Knicks just keep. The Knicks just, they're a big market team that keep, breaking your heart if you're a fan of theirs, and they just got no chance this year, obviously. But I don't know. What can the Knicks do to become competitors in the next few years?
I've talked to some people in the Knicks organization, and look at their roster. From last year, they won 55, 56 games. One of the guys they're missing from last year to this year, obviously Chandler's been hurt. They've lost a lot of games without him. But Jason Kidd is the leader in that locker room. And what that means is when he comes over to the Knicks and he goes, hey, I've won NBA championships, I'm a Hall of Fame type point guard, the younger guys on the team automatically respect him. And that doesn't go around too much in NBA locker rooms or pro locker rooms. There's not a lot of respect going on. But young guys look up to a guy like Jason Kidd. And I think he kept everything calm and normal in that locker room. Now, he only averaged 6 points and 4 assists. He did not have gaudy stats, but he was the leader. He kept everything together. He's gone to Brooklyn now, which is another nightmare because you can't just buy players, especially guys that are in their 36, 37 years old, and just hodgepodge them together. So the Knicks are in complete disarray. I'm just curious to see if the Bulls package a deal to maybe try to go out and get Carmelo Anthony to bring some scoring to Chicago because the East is so bad. Maybe if they bring in Anthony, maybe that will spark something, and maybe they can make a run at the Heat or Pacers.
Really? I mean, are people talking about that? Anthony to the Bulls?
That's crazy.
Yeah, it would be the Luol Deng, who's been an all-star, and they have a foreign kid who's good, and they would have to package some deals. But what's nerve-wracking about Carmelo is, he's no guarantee to sign next year, and if he moves, potentially out to L.A., maybe play alongside Kobe, maybe the Knicks want to get a draft pick and maybe someone else for him. I think the Bulls, that would be someone that's really been talked about a lot here in the city.
Well, Tim, thanks so much. We always appreciate it. And come back and join us anytime, brother. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Artie, I can't thank you enough. Have a good Thanksgiving, too, and thank you for being so kind to my friends from Long Island. I mean, you guys have pictures of you on top of their ceiling. It's actually a little weird now after they met you the last time they were there.
I hope they don't mistake that for a mirror and have a heart attack.
I'll talk to you later. See you guys.
Take care, buddy. The great Tim Doyle. Take a break before we do. A quick TMZ Twitter update. Earlier, Flo Rida, alleged baby mama, sues for good fortune child support.
Artie Lange's Twitter account on Twitter.
The Artie Lange Show.
The Artie Lange Show. Weeknights on Audience. Only on DirecTV.